Welcome back to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta. Check out all the shows here on the network. I'll tell you about them every day. Why? Because they're all amazing. And you guys are amazing for supporting Locked On Sports Atlanta. Almost 3,000 subscribers on YouTube already in just a few months. It's amazing that you guys have been behind us this much, and it certainly means that we're doing good content every day, and we're putting out good shows, and we certainly want you to check them all out. This is A to Z. I've hit hard with John Chuckery, ATL Day One's Jarvis Davison, Tanitra Batiste. Of course, the Braves postcast for the first place Braves. Put that in there. First place Braves. And Locked On Falcons and Locked On Hawks, of course, throughout the football and basketball season. So check everything out again at Locked On ATL on Twitter. Okay. College football rankings came out for week 2 in college football, and no major surprises. I mean, let me rephrase that. There were a couple of major surprises. However, at the top, I think that Georgia moving ahead of Ohio State was fair based off of how much Ohio State seemed to offensively struggle with Notre Dame, who fell to number 8, by the way. Michigan bumps up 4 spots after their pasting and what their offense looked like as well. Clemson fell down to 5. That's fair. A&M stayed where they are. Oklahoma at 7. Notre Dame at 8, as I just mentioned. Baylor at 9. They move up a spot. And USC moves all the way into the top 10. And what was more surprising to me was there were 2 teams that were not ranked in the original top 25 who have bumped in. Tennessee comes in at number 24. They weren't ranked, which I thought is fair. Again, Tennessee, I think, is going to be a good team. I think they'll finish in the top 25 this year when it's all said and done. And Florida moved into not 23, not 20, not 20. Where the hell are they? Oh, they're at 12. Dear Lord. From unranked to 12th? Did we seem to skip a couple of steps here? I mean, I get it. They played Utah. I get it. Utah was a team that was, in the top 10, and they beat them, but barely, and they almost shouldn't have beat them. In fact, I don't even want to get into it, obviously, because I bet on Utah, but, missed DPI call in the final play of the game. Nonetheless, that ball would have been picked if there wasn't defensive pass interference, but still, it was not a game to me that warranted Florida jumping all the way up to 12. And could it be possibly that we're overvaluing Florida just a little bit? Maybe. We're going to find out. And again, full disclosure, telling you this week, I'm going to fade Florida again one more time. For a very small play, I'm taking Kentucky plus the 5 points. This is actually a legitimate defense, and Utah's defense was supposed to be better. They didn't play that well. They gave up big chunks of yards. And all due respect to Anthony Richardson, I said coming into the season, I didn't think he was the guy, but he played really well in week 1 against a very competent Utah team, competent defensively. Kentucky's defense may be more of a little bit of a different animal, especially being in the SEC, and especially being that they're probably the 3rd or 4th best defense in the entire conference. Yeah, that's how good Kentucky's defense was. At least statistically last year, that's where they were. I expect to be the same. And Kentucky may have some problems right now because, they have not – Mark Stoops suspended running back Chris Rodriguez indefinitely. I don't know if he's coming back this week. We'll find out. He didn't play, obviously, in the opener, but that's a big part of it. If they can run the ball, they're really going to be able to, have a control of the game that, may affect Florida. But I say all this again, I'm getting too much into the game itself. Is it possible we're overvaluing Florida? Yes, I think it's very possible. We're going to find out this week. Now, the game is, again, down in the swamp, and Kentucky typically hasn't fared well there. But if Florida goes out and gets another, let's just call it win, it doesn't necessarily have to be convincing, then I think that the ranking may be justified. And again, we'll find out in 2 more weeks when they face Tennessee. So, and I think they go to Rocky Top. I'll double check the schedule. But regardless, we're going to find out about Florida. That may have been a slight overranking, at least in my opinion, to say the least. All right, what did they miss with the college football playoff? Tell you that in a second. First, a word from our friends at Coffee AM. How do you start your morning? How do I start mine? I start mine with Coffee AM. Why? Because it's delicious, it's fresh, the flavors are amazing, and they come from all over the world. That's why Coffee AM is the best small batch coffee roaster in America, and it's right here in our backyard in Georgia. Their coffees are fresh because they're roasted and shipped on the same day or very close to it. That means you're going to get amazing flavors. When the box comes to your house, you open it up, the smell of that coffee is going to be off the charts memorable. The coffees from around the world, Sumatra, Kenya, the rainforest, Costa Rica, Colombia, it's unreal where they get all these flavors from. That's why you have to go to coffeeam.com/locked on and check out the full menu of coffees, teas, and gift sets. You go to coffeeam.com/locked on. Make sure you use the promo code locked on at checkout to get 15% off your first order of coffees, teas, and gift sets. If you love coffee, go to coffeeam.com. If you don't love coffee, send somebody else there because they're going to love you for it. All right, what do we miss in the college football playoff here expansion? Nicole Auerbach of The Athletic, one of the best at covering college football, brought up some very lucid points that I just wanted to highlight on because I think it is incredibly important to understand where college football is going with this whole expansion deal. And one thing she didn't bring up, which is the one thing that I brought up, which I'm kind of surprised because I don't know why more people aren't harping on this, unless somebody smarter than me can explain to me why they're not. That said, they still have not decided what realignment is going to look like. If you're going to hand out automatic bids, you got to have some semblance of static conferences and who the bids are going to. You just have to. There is no reason to hand out an automatic bid to the SEC when they are going to get 5 or 6 teams in this thing regardless. There's an automatic bid for the top 4 teams, right? Every year you can make that argument. If there are going to be 3 or 4 teams in the top 25 when it's all said and done, and let me just go back to last year real quick and see where they finished, because the final rankings: Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss finished at 11, and that was 3. I'm trying to see if anybody else was really close. Kentucky finished at 18. They were trending in a good direction. Nobody else from the SEC was really trending upward at that point in time. Okay, but again, regardless, same thing. Okay, so you had Michigan, Ohio State, and Michigan State in the top 10 as well. I mean, those are like automatic bids for that conference. So what's the point in handing out automatic bids when the top 3 teams get it from 2 of the major conferences? That's half your playoff pool right there. I think you need to fix it. But Nicole Auerbach talks about the revenue split. How is it going to split? The whole point of doing this college football playoff expansion is for more money. $2 billion in annual revenue from media rights payouts. $2 billion. How are they going to split that? Does it go back to conferences? Does it go to individual schools? Is it based off of how far they go in the college football playoff? Do the teams that make it to the finals get more money than the teams that just get bumped out in the first round? What's the revenue split between Power 5 teams and Group of 5? What about Notre Dame? What do they get for being independent? I mean, and Auerbach even says that data from both the college football playoff and BCS era suggests that the SEC and Big Ten will dominate the 12-team playoff field once it expands. Should those 2 conferences get more money than everybody else? That is a fair question to ask. That's really what it boils down to. The viability of expanding for 2024 or 2025. The big problem is, again, what does the schedule look like? They haven't determined the calendar, and I think this is an excellent point. Are the first-round games played before the Christmas break? So what do you have? First weekend of December, Conference Championship weekend. Second weekend, Army-Navy. Is that third weekend going to be a situation where you're playing 3 games? Because in a 12-team playoff, 1 and 2 seeds are going to get a bye. So actually, it'd only be 2 games, right? Because you're going to have to. You're going to have the 1 and 2 seeds get a bye into the semifinals, and then you have 2 other games going on, and each winner goes on. So you have 2 games there, and that's what the first 2 rounds would look like. I mean, who knows? They have to figure out the calendar because it's a big part of it. There's a lot of these college presidents on this board here who like the December break before they have to play in any bowl games, i.e., we're not playing before New Year's Eve / New Year's Day or post New Year's Day. And of course, finals. I have to air quote the word finals. We have to have finals in there because students have to take finals. So these are just some of the challenges, again, in the college football playoff and what it's going to look like as an expanded field. And I think the money is the biggest thing. They have to decide that first. They'll work out the schedule and the TV contracts later. But what does it look like? And do group of 5 teams even deserve any money? That's another bigger question. No, I don't think they do, but I'm biased. Yes, I'm the white guy who likes the rich people getting richer. Hate me for it. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just simply about who butters the bread here. Who makes all the money for college football? It's the Power Five. Okay, coming up next, an interesting sports movie review. I'm late to the party on this one, but I wanted to express some feelings on it because I finished watching it last night. Plus some shovels of wisdom next right here on A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Search Locked On Sports Atlanta.